The United States has lost more than $10 trillion in just 1 week. Trade wars and tariff policies are rapidly driving up prices, eroding public trust, destabilizing the domestic market, and hitting both American and European consumers hard. These shocks have dealt a serious blow to the middle class, which has long been teetering on the edge of financial stability. White House spokesperson Caroline Levitt tried to calm the public, but instead of offering clear explanations, she resorted to the usual tactics: evasion, empty slogans, and blaming Elon Musk and Navarro. Amid a loud and public spat between Musk and the president's trade advisor Navarro, a scathing comparison was made. Musk called Navarro dumber than a bag of bricks. This statement sparked a media storm and intense reactions on social media. Instead of explaining the core of the tariff policy and its economic consequences, Levitt merely said, "It's just two people with different views. Boys will be boys." But while theatrical scenes unfold in the White House, the U.S. economy resembles the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones: brutality, blood, chaos, with no end in sight. Levitt stated that there would be no pain for American companies and workers, since the jobs will come home. But reality tells a different story. Just 9 hours before the imposition of new tariffs on China, farming states like Iowa, which exported $13.5 billion worth of agricultural products in the year 2023, began sounding the alarm over skyrocketing prices for fertilizers, farm equipment, spare parts, and fuel. Price spikes are already being seen in machinery, chemicals, herbicides, and planting components. The consequences have been felt not only by farmers but also by average consumers. Prices for basic food items are increasing, supply chains are collapsing, and production costs are rising. This leads to inflation, declining income value, and reduced purchasing power. Households, small businesses, and regional markets are suffering. White House statements sound increasingly disconnected from reality. The mantra, "America doesn't need other countries as much as they need us," has become hollow rhetoric, masking a deepening crisis. Trump confidently promised that prices would drop on day one after the launch of his trade policy. However, since the announcement of the new tariffs, global stock markets have experienced a shock. According to El País, the market capitalization of global assets has declined by more than $10 trillion, an amount comparable to half of the European Union's annual GDP. Meanwhile, Trump's claims that egg prices had dropped by 79% were debunked by PolitiFact. Prices did fall after a spike, but not by that magnitude. A particularly striking example of the administration's incompetence is the formula used to calculate tariffs. Even Trump's key donors, including Home Depot co-founder Ken Langone, called it absurd. The formula, exports minus imports divided by imports, cannot withstand any serious economic criticism. John Oliver, on his show, compared it to trying to calculate the area of an apartment by dividing a phone number by a dog's age. Despite its obvious senselessness, the administration stubbornly continued using it. After China imposed retaliatory tariffs, Trump unexpectedly announced a 90-day pause in the application of duties. This was a complete 180-degree reversal, especially in light of his earlier statements about the inadmissibility of such delays. Experts are convinced this is not a strategy, but a reaction to the market crash and collapsing public trust. Investors are panicking, pension funds are losing value, and the average American sees their savings evaporate. The European Union, which had initially strongly opposed Trump's tariff policy, soon shifted its position and agreed to the 0-for-0 scheme. This was perceived as a capitulation under pressure. China, by contrast, took a hard line. Not only did it refuse to back down, it also imposed 125% tariffs on American goods, stating it would not yield to blackmail. Amid this escalation, goods from third-world countries such as Brazil, Indonesia, and Vietnam began to rise sharply in price. This affected a wide range of consumer products, from fruits and coffee to seafood. The everyday basket of the American consumer is rapidly becoming more expensive. Retirement investments are shrinking. Trump's attempts to extinguish the fire that he himself started have failed. Businesses are panicking. The market is stagnating. The most destructive move was the 104% tariff on Chinese goods. This action triggered a sharp drop in stock indexes and wiped out trillions of dollars. In response, Trump held a chaotic press conference in which he accused Germany and Canada of creating drug trafficking networks without providing any evidence. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney responded immediately, introducing retaliatory measures and declaring that the country would not back down. Doug Ford, who had previously supported Trump, abruptly reversed course and accused him of failure. Across Europe and Asia, efforts to reduce dependence on the United States are intensifying, while economic partnerships with China are gaining momentum. Trump risks becoming isolated not only on the international stage, but also within his own political circles. Even in traditionally Republican Texas, criticism is growing. Congressman Keith Self was booed by his own constituents. In Canada, sports fans booed the U.S. national anthem as a protest against the actions of the Trump administration. This is no longer just a protest, it is a mass rejection. Meanwhile, Trump is playing golf. While millions of Americans face rising prices and unemployment, the former president is demonstrating complete detachment from reality. His new budget includes multi-billion-dollar tax breaks for the wealthy and cuts for those in need. Healthcare, education, and farm support, all are being reduced. At a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Trump made a series of diplomatic and factual errors. He praised Russia, justified aggression, and defended Andrew Tate. He denied his previous statements, ignoring the fact that they are publicly recorded. This alarmed NATO allies. Once again, the myth was repeated that tariffs are paid by other countries. In reality, it is American businesses and consumers who bear the cost. Trump's new proposal, a global tariff of 20%, has raised widespread concern. Moody's analyst Mark Zandi warned that unemployment could rise to 7%, and the country could fall into a recession. This would be a blow to the economy, tax revenues, and consumer confidence. Even if such tariffs generate revenue for the government, the costs of benefits, subsidies, and support programs would outweigh any gain. Neighboring countries such as Canada and Mexico are stepping up diplomatic resistance in an effort to preserve economic stability in the region. And finally, Tariff Liberation Day, as the White House called the introduction of the new tariffs. But the markets responded with a collapse. Economists warn we are on the brink of a recession comparable to the Great Depression. The main question now is whether America will move toward recovery, or whether this is the beginning of a prolonged crisis that will reshape the global economic landscape.